Thank you so much for having me today, you guys. I'm here to talk to you guys about systems first and tech second. Thank you so much, Garth, for the introduction. I appreciate that. At any point during this presentation, have anything that goes over your guys' head, please raise your hand. We will have Q&A at the end. I don't like to talk at people, I like to talk with you. So if you have a question while I'm talking about something, please just raise your hand and we will stop and have that discussion. There we go. Okay, so you guys heard a little bit about my background, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about who I am and why you should care and why the information I'm going to share today is important. So not only did I spend time in the financial industry as well as in banking, but over the last 7 years with accelerated automation, we have helped over 920 agencies of all backgrounds, captive agencies, niche agencies, independent, trucking, commercial, health, Medicare, P&C, a little bit of everything. And when I was an agency owner, I really honestly didn't have a great view of the insurance industry. I got that after helping hundreds of other agencies and seeing behind the scenes and what they were doing, how their cultures, their systems, and their technology all played a part in delivering a great experience to their customers and growing their business. Over that time, we were able to really create an amazing framework and deliver amazing results for our agencies as well. So as you can see up here on the screen, we've been able to increase production for agencies by 3.6 times in less than 90 days. These are agencies who fully commit to these different things I'm going to teach you guys today, as well as saving time. So I take the fact that you guys are here spending your time learning today and being part of NAIFA as a really serious commitment. We can literally make more of everything, right? We can make more money, we can make more stuff, we can have more fun, we can even make more people. We can do all of that, but we cannot make more time. So the fact that you're here spending time learning is a huge commitment to your agencies. I'm going to assume that everybody here in this room is wanting to grow their businesses, better their businesses. And if you really like things the way that they are and are not looking to implement change in your organization, then this presentation is probably not for you, but hopefully you still take some things from it. The other piece that I am the most proud of that we've been able to impact in agencies is culture. And I've been in the corporate environment, I was in corporate for 10 years, and then in small business. And culture is really the key piece that's missing in a lot of small businesses, that high level of expectation and execution and accountability. And these processes and systems and the technologies that can power it will change the culture in your agency for the better. And that can be disruptive in many ways, sometimes really shining a light on your great team members, and other times shining a light on the fact that that team member needs to move on and they're not a good fit for your organization. But really what this is going to do when you apply these processes is change the way that your agency runs every single day. So with that, we're going to get started on the next steps. So before you automate anything, you have to standardize everything. If you guys look at the agenda, the paper agenda that we were all given when we walked in, AI is on 3 of the session titles. So this is really common in almost every event that I go to, that AI is very, very prominent. And it's almost odd, you're almost the unique presenter or session if you're not talking about AI in today's world. But what I have seen is agents will try to add AI to their businesses before they're ready. So these pieces that we're going to be talking about are really the foundation to the next steps in your agency to make sure you're ready for AI. You can't add automation and AI on top of chaos, because I promise you it will amplify the chaos. So before you automate anything, you need to standardize. Most agencies today do not have standard operating procedures. Who in their agency has written standard procedures that your entire team follows? Show of hands. A couple people? Phenomenal. How hard was that to do?
It was hard.
It was hard, right? Over here? It wasn't hard? Did you start that way in the beginning, or did you have to come back later and do that? So that's great. So everyone in your business was used to that, right? From the very beginning in your culture, there was a procedure. Did you guys start that way?
Yeah.
You did? Perfect.
Well, that was the Navy.
Oh.
Yeah, they do that.
The Navy way. But the reason for that is because you can repeat success, right? You create a framework, the best practices, and you're setting up your soldiers or your teammates to be successful. When we don't have a standard procedure, we're usually bringing in team members They're training for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a year, 2 years, until they really understand how the business operates. And we call that tribal knowledge. Tribal knowledge is where how we do our work all exists in each individual person's brains, and they usually have their own variations of how that work is done as well. So if that member of the tribe leaves, that information goes with them, okay? So now you have to try to capture it. Like, think about your most valuable team member, has been with you the longest, knows the ins and outs of the business. If they walked out tomorrow, or God forbid, got hit by a bus, wouldn't want that to happen, but how would that impact your business? If you have captured the processes and the systems, the scripts, the best practices that that team member has applied to your business, of course, losing that team member is still hard, but you're able to pull someone back in, get them trained up, and make sure that they know how to do their job successfully from the beginning. So that's why the SOPs, the standard operating procedures, really have to come before AI, technology, automation, any of those things. We need to know, what should your team be doing, what is successful for your business, and how can we replicate it and duplicate it throughout your entire organization. This is how businesses scale. This is why if you go to Starbucks, you get the same latte, the same Americano. You go to McDonald's, you know what your burger's going to be, because it's going to be created and stacked, and all of the ingredients are going to be in the same order because every team member is trained the same. And this is very difficult in small business and usually kind of an afterthought. Kudos to you guys for starting from the beginning that way, and that usually comes from prior experience. I came out of the banking industry, and there was a process for everything. If we were going to issue a cashier's check, we were going to do a wire transfer, open a new account, we followed the same process. If you guys have ever been through a bank audit, has anybody here worked in banking, been through a bank audit? You have? Trauma, right? So much trauma. It's not even funny. Nightmares, cold sweats, it's awful. And they're days long, right? They're just days, and you just can't sleep. Anyways, it's horrible. But it's because it's so regulated, you have to make sure all the boxes are checked and those processes are followed. And if they're not, there can be really severe consequences, and especially your job if you're in a leadership position. So an SOP really looks like a step-by-step framework. I'll give you an example. Probably the easiest one that we all deal with is policy renewals, right? It really doesn't matter what line of business you're in. You have to renew life insurance, you have to renew Medicare, P&C, all of that. Policy has to renew. So what does that process look like? How does the process start? Where is the information collected from? Are you getting an email from your carrier? Does that come through your AMS? How do you get notified of the start of the process? And then what is your team expected to do next? When are they required to engage with that customer and have a discussion with them about the renewal? Is there a percentage of premium increase or decrease that you require them to reach out? Is there certain clients that this is maybe a monoline auto policy that we don't physically touch that renewal? We just let it auto renew if that's the case. That is the detail that you need to have in your processes. So your team knows, I have this renewal, what am I doing with it? What does the outreach look like? The follow-up. Are you offering review appointments to your clients? If so, how do you do that? How do you document it? If a client refuses, where is that communication? Is it in a text message, an email? Is it on your employee's phone? I've seen agencies who run client communication through individual team members' cell phones. The nightmare of documentation, if you ever have an E&O, it's impossible. That consistent process in your business, so you know exactly where to look for this information, and you can hold your team accountable to the process, is absolutely vital if you want to scale and grow your business. The payoff to that is really to make sure that your team knows how to be successful. I mean, how many of us have had to have coaching conversations with our staff? I hope all of your hands go up, seriously. Everybody should be coaching their teams, right? If you have employees, it doesn't matter if that coaching conversation is good or highlighting their areas of opportunity, right? That's the corporate way to say it. It doesn't matter what that conversation is. We should be leading them, coaching them, and helping them be successful. But if they don't know what success looks like in their role, then how can you coach them to that? How can you hold them accountable? So this also provides a lot of clarity and starts to change the culture in the business, because everyone knows how to be successful and what you expect of them. So I've mentioned already a couple times coaching, mentoring, and culture. With all of this, you guys, if you want to implement AI, you want to implement automation, you want to stay relevant in the insurance industry over the next 3 to 5 years, because this is not 20 years. Most of this stuff is happening today. And I can tell you there's systems today where you could literally, as a consumer, put in your information and it will go all the way out to the carriers and get your quotes and come back, bindable quotes, and then you could even speak with AI, and the only thing that an actual person in the business needs to do is bind, because they are licensed. That's the only part of the process a person actually has to do today. Now, there's a very small percentage of agencies who have these systems in place, but it's growing rapidly. The amount of money invested into insurtech industry in the tens of millions of dollars over the last 5 years is insane. And this is going to catch up with all of us, big, small, no matter what our industries are. I mean, think about how we shop today. We shop online, reviews, how we get directions. Nobody uses a map anymore, right? This is going to continue to evolve our industry. And leadership is going to be imperative through all of this. So when you're looking at implementing these processes and doing things in your agency to really get your business ready for technology, you need to make sure that you bring your team along with this. There is a very real concern of team members and staff that AI is going to replace their job. If you're not on social media, it's all over TikTok and Instagram and everywhere else. And there's actually people, employees, who will sabotage your software to prove to you that it's so bad and that you don't need it, but you need them. This is a real thing happening in our world at a very large scale. So you need to make sure you articulate a very clear vision to your employees of why we're doing this, what is the purpose, and that their job is not at risk. Really, with automation and technology, you can get so much more out of your team members. That's really the whole point. It's not to replace people, it's to allow them to be more effective and efficient and do more human activity. Pulling a document, a PDF out of an email, saving it to your computer, uploading it to your AMS, and then emailing it to the customer is not a human activity. That is clicking. It is not a skilled activity, and it can be done through automation in the back end without your team spending time on it. So make sure you're very clear with your team that this process, these changes we're going to make, is all about empowering you to spend more time with people and to solidify your role here and to make you more valuable to the organization. Communicate that relentlessly. Does anybody here struggle with repeating themselves? Like, do you ever feel like, I've said this, everyone in the world's already heard me say it? Anybody ever have that feeling? Oh my gosh, there's more hands that went up there than you did around coaching. So I know you guys are coaching people because you are repeating yourselves, right? Like, please call the customer back. Please don't write mono line. Please cross-sell, offer reviews, right? Like, explain premium and inflation and all these things. We repeat it over and over and over and over, but that is so important as a leader. And it's something I've always struggled with personally, because you feel like because you know it so well, it's kind of common sense, right? But it's just not. So even if you feel like a parrot and you're just like constantly repeating, that is a really, really good thing. It also helps to build trust because you're consistent. So you're consistent with your messaging and the investment in your team and the commitment to your team, and that will mean that they will trust you and allow you to have difficult conversations with them, coach them, and bring them along. Make sure you are also empowering your team to be part of this process. My very favorite thing, and this is like on a different slide, sorry I'm jumping around, but my very favorite thing is to start with your team. If you want to go back to your agency and start to standardize and automate and add AI, sit down with your team and ask them, what part of your job do you hate the most? It's always a fun conversation, right? Everybody likes to complain. We're like, our brains are wired for negativity, so that's why it's so hard to stay positive all the time. But ask them what they don't like. What do you wish you never had to do? What's time consuming, annoying, frustrating, all of those emotions? And start to solve that problem for them first. When you get their buy-in and you make their job that much easier, you are going to have an advocate and a champion for this change in your organization. And then make sure you sustain the momentum. Literally the hardest part. Consistency from a human behavior standpoint is the thing that we all struggle with the most, right? We all want to lose weight. January 1st, we're so excited. We go to the gym, and now it's February, and we're like, oh man, I really miss donuts. Like, I love donuts. I like jelly filled. I don't know about you guys, but it's my favorite. And then you're like, it's fine, maybe next year, right? But consistency is really key, you guys, because that also erodes trust. So if we aren't consistent with our messaging, then your team will start to develop this opinion that it's just the next flavor. It's just the next thing, it'll die off, pretty soon Patrick will forget about this and we're not gonna have to worry about it. I went to an agency in California, a large agency. We pulled the entire team into the office, kicked the agent out. I only got to do this because he's a friend of mine. And I said, you guys, give me the down and dirty. Why are you guys struggling? What's going on with Zach? And they were like, you guys are here this week, you'll be gone on Friday, and everything will go back to normal. So we had to take that feedback to him. Consistency, none of them trusted that this change was going to stick and that they were going to follow through. And the agencies who do really well, who scale beyond $1 million in revenue, 5 million, 10 million, 15 million in revenue, they are consistent all the time. Hardest thing to do, right? So we have to really elevate our own leadership if we really want automated agencies and to really take advantage of AI. So now that we've talked about what you have to do with your team and with yourself and your own leadership skills, let's talk about what you would actually start with in the business. So this is where I said, talk to your team members. But mapping your agency's workflows. So this is really key. This is how you're going to prepare your agency for automation and systems. And it doesn't start with playing with your technology. That's where most of our clients miss. They will purchase a CRM or they'll purchase an AI tool or they'll start using Claude and they try to plug it into the middle of processes that they don't really have defined yet, right? So we already know we have to define our processes, but now we have to think about our workflows. So how are we going to structure this? What is required? How often are we following up? Where is information being stored? What is our naming convention for files? Anybody have a file folder that is like a disaster for client files? You're searching for something, a deck page. Did I see a hand raised over here? Did you raise your hand? Yeah. It's constant, right? And everyone gives it a different name. Like someone will say renewal, they'll put the year on it. Sometimes they'll do first name, last name, first name, and all these different things, right? But that's the level of standardization and consistency you want. AI, you guys, it's going to read and use digital information. If the information is a mess, if your data is a mess and your processes are a mess, it can't help you at all. So these really are the first steps. So these are kind of the main buckets, right? Sales, workflows, onboarding, and retention and service. That's basically what you can boil down our organizations to. Now there's marketing, HR, accounting, there's all the other things, but this is the front end of your business and how you interact with customers. Little tip on the bottom here, this is a great place to use AI. Who is using ChatGPT? Okay, who's using Claude? Who's using something else? Anna, you guys are using all of them probably. Okay, I love it. So that's amazing. It's the majority of the room. Most of you guys are using it, and you should be. It makes life so much easier. I mean, at dinner last night, I was telling Debbie and I were talking about vacations. I typed in the name of a town, and it mapped out my whole trip. It even told me the gas mileage and the cost to get there was really high because this town was in California. So, really high gas prices. But it's really amazing. This is a great way to open up your AI tool and give it your brain dump of process. If you don't already know, you can talk to your AI and hit voice. I have rambled on to ChatGPT for 20, 30 minutes of the scramble of ideas that are in my head and had it organize that thought and put it into processes for me, okay? OpenAI was actually originally built for businesses. The founder actually talked about how he didn't really think it was going to apply to the general public. It was a tool for businesses. So it really does kind of already natively understand business operations at some rudimentary levels. So if you just open that up and talk through your sales process, have your staff do this. Have them talk through what they do when they're selling a policy, what tools they use, what things they click on, what takes time. Gather that all up together, smash it into one prompt, give it back to ChatGPT, and let it help you. The other thing I love to do with this for mapping is I love whiteboards or like the big Post-its that go on the walls where you can write out and draw and highlight and make arrows. You're just kind of mind mapping. But AI is also really helpful for this as well. Okay, so I'm gonna go back a little bit. So once you have this mapped and you kind of know, first of all, don't do all of these at once, one at a time. The other part of leadership is knowing how much change your team can actually handle. Change management is a big thing. You can't come back and say, we're gonna change the entire organization in 30 days. They will quit or they should quit because that's unrealistic. So make sure you walk them through each of these processes and understand that change is very hard for most people. What technology does and doesn't do. Everybody in here use an AMS, agency management system? Ooh, really low, okay. What are you guys using if you don't have an AMS? How do you get your carrier information?
Epic.
That's an AMS.
EasyLinks is AMS too, right?
It is, sorry, agency management system. Epic, EasyLinks, AMS 360, QQ Catalyst, Momentum, TAM, which is getting sunsetted. Sorry, yes, anything, so is everybody using one now that we kind of know what it is? Yep, agency block, yep. So agency management systems, AMS systems, were really designed for carrier to agency communication. Okay, there are dinosaur tech platforms, right? So before we had to go from paper to technology, which is great. but it gives you carrier information. CRMs are built for agency to client and or prospect communication. That's the whole purpose. Okay, you can't download carrier data into it. That comes from your agency management system. These two platforms are vital to an insurance agency going into 2026 and beyond. Only 27% of insurance agents have a CRM, which is kind of crazy. Have you guys all heard of Salesforce, HubSpot, maybe Keep or Zoho, Go High Level? God, it's all over YouTube. Can't get away from Go High Level.
What did you say that percentage was?
27% of insurance agencies have a CRM. That's it. So it's the organizations that have these that understand that insurance agencies are sales organizations. The only way we grow our businesses is through sales. Retention is key for stability and growth of baseline, of course, revenue, but that's the only way you can grow your business is by selling. And a CRM is built for sales. So these are two core things that insurance agents need to have. And the great thing about really good CRMs that are flexible is these processes and systems we're talking about become visual and digitized that your team can actually follow day to day, making it very easy for them to understand. If you think about a traditional standard operating procedure, it's usually like a PDF. It's written out. You have to kind of understand the context of what it's explaining to you to follow it. And a lot of times they end up in a dusty binder somewhere on a shelf and nobody's opened them. You get a new employee, you kind of blow off the dust and hand them the binder and say, this is how we run the business. But if those standard operating procedures are reflected in the tools that your team uses every single day, then you don't have to pull out that binder. You can sit them down in front of their computer, which they're going to work on, and you can say, these are our processes, and it will guide you through your work. It's going to help you remember when to get a signature on this document and how we collect payments and what finance companies we use for premium finance, which carriers are direct pay. You're going to be able to see that throughout your daily work instead of having to reference a binder. So from an accountability perspective, this is so much easier. Now, these two systems are highly important. Even the increase to 27% is a huge jump compared to 5 years ago when insurance CRMs kind of didn't exist. And not only can these systems help you with your processes, but they can also automate communications. So I don't know about you, but when I was an agent, I really wished I could have called and talked to every single one of my customers every single year. And for some of you guys, you might. But if you get an agency that's doing $5 million in revenue or $15 million in revenue, you physically cannot do that. It's not possible. But it doesn't mean your customers still don't deserve that level of attention and communication from you. So doing that through automation still allows them to feel touched and important to your agency, and especially if you make sure that automation, that email or text message doesn't look automated. So for those of us with email, we all know that the promotions tab, right? The junk, the spam, the promotions tab, it fills up with beautifully formatted emails that look wonderful. But you know they were sent to tens of thousands of people, right? Like they were not sent to you. So by also making sure that your communications to clients are personal and direct, and they really look like they came from you and your team, you give them that high-touch service without having to add more headcount. I can't tell you how many agencies we've worked with who've cracked $5 million in revenue and they're trying to crack 10, and they get stuck at 8. And not only do they get stuck at 8, but they also start losing profit margin. Their headcount grows and grows as the business grows. And while their revenue is doing this, their profit margin is slowly shrinking because of the number of people they have to sustain the business and not lose customers. This is really where technology shines and allows you to get more out of your team members and do more with less people. Oh, compliance. I always forget about this. Banking, audits, right? I mentioned that. Trauma, compliance is just like part of my being now. Texting, heavily regulated. This is more of just a tip. Make sure you are doing that in a compliant way and people are opting in with you. If you want to learn more about that, I do have a YouTube channel and I did a whole webinar with a TCPA lawyer on this topic. Learn everything you want to know for free, but pay attention. Unfortunately, I do have a client who had to pay $220,000 to settle a TCPA demand letter to keep it out of court. $220,000 because they were texting people incorrectly. So please be careful. Technology is phenomenal, but you have to use it the right way. Of course.
What was the improper way? Just to make sure I'm not doing the improper way.
Yeah, so I appreciate that question. Business to consumer texting is regulated by the FCC, and the TCPA is the Telephone Consumer Protection Act. And we're actually going to talk about that a little bit more in my last session of the day. But ultimately, you cannot use automated systems to send text messages to people who have not given you permission. So this goes beyond the DNC list. If they're on the DNC, you can't contact them, of course. But if they are not on the DNC, but have not given you explicit opt-in, you cannot send them a text message. Business to business doesn't apply, which is probably why all you guys get a million like solicitation text messages. I know I do. I don't even look at them anymore. It's so bad on my phone.
I have a separate number from like Burner app, so I just use my other alternative number for all of that stuff. And so my personal cell phone's cleaner now, but just an idea for people, get a secondary like app number to put in all those things. That way when you do get spam, you can just turn it off and it doesn't matter.
I completely agree with that. I actually had to go a step further and I had to get a different phone, but that's for some other reasons as well.
Like $10 a month, and it's the same phone, but like it's just another one where you can like, or enter in competition stuff. So sorry for
Yeah.
that, but just
No, I appreciate it.
important thing that could help.
Yeah, can help lower the noise. There's a lot of distractions, right, in business. We all have to be able to do that, get rid of those distractions. So make sure you have that opt-in. But if you aren't texting people and you haven't gone through that process, huge miss. 90% of text messages are read by the receiver. Only 40% of emails are read on average by the receiver. Texting is where it is. I mean, I'm 38, I'm a millennial. If you call me and you didn't send me a text, I don't know who you are, I'm never gonna know who you are because I'm not gonna listen to my voicemail, I'm not gonna pick up the phone. So, sorry. And the people behind me, Gen Z, right, is that the next one? They are even worse. So make sure that you have this as a tool in your business, but just do it the right way. All right, step-by-step framework. This has been up for a little while, but really finding the bottleneck. Start with your team. Talk to them about what is not working well and what they need help with. So you want to start with one process. Remember, change management, change is hard for people, and consistency is hard for people. And this is what you're asking of your team. So you want to have some empathy and some grace for them because it's going to be a change. Make sure you map this out before you build it. I don't care if it's a mind map, it can be scribbles on a napkin, it doesn't matter, but have an idea of what you're trying to accomplish. Define ownership and what done means. You guys, the number of agents that tell me my producers have to follow up with leads until they get an answer is crazy to me. Like, that could literally be forever. What if they ghost you? Are you following up for a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, physically calling these people? That's unsustainable. Your producer is set up for failure because they don't have the time in the day to make those phone calls and to do those activities. Follow-up might be consistent forever. My motto is you follow up until they opt out or they die. That is it. Otherwise, you're not getting away from me. So warning to anybody who scans my QR code later today, if you want to work with us, because that's what we do. But if you opt out, we are respectful of that. But done, what does that look like? When can you pass it off? When is that work no longer yours?
Decide what's going to stay human. Like, if you're going to automate things, you can automate phone calls. You can automate the entire conversation with the client through voice AI. And 2-3 years ago, it was god awful. Today, it's really good, you guys. You cannot tell the difference with the right vendors. It is really kind of scary. But I really encourage you to automate that piece last. Your people should be in front of people, talking to people as much as humanly possible. Make sure you audit your tech stack and add the right tools. You guys probably have so many tools within your existing technology you pay for without ever adding another dime to your tech stack cost by just utilizing what's there. For example, Microsoft, if you have a subscription, you likely have access to Microsoft Forms, where you can collect leads and standardize intake process. You likely have access to Microsoft Bookings, which is the ability to book calendar appointments without having to do the, what time do you get off work? And let me check with my husband. And, you know, oh, well, I can do Monday. And then, oh, no, I can't. Can you do 9:15 or 9:30? Just send them a link and let them choose and be done with it and move on with your life. These are all tools within your tech stack. So really dive in. Most people only use 10% of their technology capacity that they already pay for. Build it, train on it. You can't build it and talk about it for an hour and then never teach your team again. When we teach agencies, they're in a weekly 1-hour training every single week with us for 4 months. We're changing the overall structure of the agency, but make sure you are reinforcing this and training your team, giving them the resources. And then this is where the fun comes in. You get to measure it. This is where you get clarity of your business, what's actually working and what's not working. And then you can adjust that from there. Conversation AI is wonderful for missed calls, after hours, weekends and evenings. Let AI answer your phones. People love it, but do not replace your people from the front end. This framework in general is a recap. Find the problem, talk to your team, map your processes, assign ownership. This is actually something I haven't talked about too much, but who is responsible? Customer service rep, producers, account managers, maybe you have VAs that you're working with. Make sure you know who's responsible for the work. Define done, don't leave things open-ended, and make sure you decide on what's human and what's automated. And I do see some of you guys taking pictures. If any of you guys want these slides, I'll give you my email address. I'm happy to email it to you. And for the record, I use AI to make this. Took about 3 minutes. I did go back through it, but it goes quick. It's pretty cool. 3 action items to take away. This is what I hope you guys do when you get back to your office. Meet with your team. Ask them for their pain points. If they tell you that there's nothing wrong, they probably don't trust you. Because I promise you, there's spots wrong. In every single business, mine included. My team is always telling me all the things that we're doing wrong. It's great. I love the feedback loop. We're always trying to improve. It's never ending. Map your workflows and then audit your tech stack. Those are your 3 action items. If you start going back and doing that, you're going to be able to implement change in the business. Cost of doing nothing. 91% of follow-ups are missed. This is because most agents follow up twice and quit. Consistency is key. The number of people who re-engage after the 7th business day for conversations around new policies is insane. You guys will be able to pull so much more from your existing business, your marketing, what you already are doing, just by consistently following up with people. Our clients increase their cross-sell by 2 times by automating and putting this in place. That's cross-sell. That's your existing clients. You can see some other pieces on here as well. But the ones I really want through AI, but also AI comes with compliance. Many speakers have already mentioned compliance issues. And of course, I am not an attorney. There's that little disclosure right there. But I did go over and create this session with an attorney. So the attorney that I use, John Henson, he is a TCPA. So I talked about earlier with like phone and call and text. TCPA and an AI lawyer. So I planned this. They were talking a lot about AI tools. I transcribe and record every single thing we do at our company. Just so you know, in Idaho, it is a one-party disclosure state, which means as long as you know, like one person on the phone knows that you're recording, you're good. You don't have to tell anybody on the other line. But we're going to talk about how that's changing in some states as well, and that it's state to state as well. But John and I went through this agenda, and he gave me a bunch of different legal precedences and things that have happened to share with you guys. I'll do my best to answer questions about them, but I'm not him, so just set that expectation up front. Okay, so we've already talked a little bit about some of the practical tools. You guys have heard a lot of things from speakers on this: compliance, risk awareness, and a clear action plan. So a little bit of this is going to be, repetitive. So if we've talked about it and we beat the dead horse, I'm going to move on. And hopefully we can just leave more room at the end for Q&A for all the speakers, because this is our last session and then we have reception. So I figured that would be the best use of our time. Oh, this is me again. Remember AI, right? This is the second session. It didn't know that. So I'll keep moving on. All right, so AI basics. We've talked about some of these tools and different pieces that you guys can use and what's actually safe to use. So just like the panel talked about, some of these people that are vibe coding tools that you can use, it's just like ChatGPT or Claude behind it. They vibe code a front end and then they start selling it. You need to be really careful when you're buying AI tools. You need to vet the company, you need to look at the terms and conditions. All of these companies put all the risk on the user. So if you use something that is not really secure, it's your fault. Like, we all know how lawsuits work because we work in insurance. You can always sue somebody, but you also can't, get blood out of a turnip. So if it's some guy in his mom's basement who vibe coded a solution that you thought was cool and you put in your business, and now you have a security problem or an E&O issue, you're going to have to try to get something out of that individual. So make sure you are really partnering with legitimate organizations who are well structured, they have security measures in place, and you review those terms and conditions as well. So be really careful with that. We're going to talk about smart use cases, we're going to talk about risk and compliance, legal cases, like I mentioned earlier, that John helped me put together, and then as much time as we can for Q&A. So on those accounts, like I mentioned already, some people coding their own things, but these are the things you want to take into consideration in your office. Some people were talking about how they had, a gentleman over here said something about like a AI in the agency that doesn't, like the information doesn't go out and get shared somewhere. That can just be a business version of like ChatGPT or Claude, because there's security and settings in those accounts. Anything beyond a free account with these platforms, you can choose to not have your data go back into the large language model. But this also kind of goes with trust. Another speaker mentioned terms and conditions changing with other software companies after the fact. So, you know, how much do you trust OpenAI or Anthropic to keep that information safe? You know, actually we were joking about at our table a minute ago about like privacy, and we're like, privacy, come on, all your stuff's everywhere. It's all in the cloud, somebody can find it, probably on the dark web, wherever that's at. But at the end of the day, you know, you are putting your trust in that organization to keep that information private. So you do want to know what is okay to put in there, even if it's your own business or enterprise version, okay? Those privacy settings, make sure you understand it and you've spent the time to read through them. This is just not a tool to use, well, honestly, any software is not a tool to use lightly. It's not really different if you think about it. If a customer's been emailing you private information through an email, or they've been texting it to you, or however they've been sending it, that has all gone through some kind of cloud-based security and software program, and it has to be protected. And AI is not very different than that. So this isn't new, like your customers saying, you know, I don't want to be recorded. Every single call center I've ever called, if I have to call like my bank or, you know, T-Mobile or AT&T, this call will be recorded for quality and training purposes. It's been around forever, right? So people are used to these things. They're just so much more flexible now, and you have so many more options. So make sure you understand those, and you're taking that into consideration when you put these tools in place. Where AI can help your agency. Again, a little repetitive. It's not like all the speakers had each other's slide decks, just for the record, so we didn't know what everyone was talking about. Marketing and social content. So while we were sitting here, I was actually creating my content posts for the next 2 weeks on my own personal page, because I can't actually schedule those outside of the Meta platform. So I'm putting together my ideas, making images. These are things that you can do really, really well with AI. You just play with it, give it some prompts, make sure it kind of has your tone and approach. But when it comes to marketing and content, like Patrick talked about having a lot of eyes on your business, sometimes it can be hard to think about what to say. So I've been doing social media content for my business consistently every day, 2 or 3 posts a day for the last 6 years. There's times where I'm like, I have no idea. I have no idea what to say. Like, you should automate stuff. That's what I want to post. Okay? But you have to think of an idea, right? Or what's going on in your life, or what's changing. And this is a great place to brainstorm and use for marketing. Not only just drafting emails, posting, add copy at scale, giving yourself an actual strategy around your marketing approach as well. Amazing for that. HR and internal operations. Is anybody using AI for this? Couple? An example of what do you use it for?
I'm using it for, well, it's more for like processes, getting down
Process.
notes. It's a consulting tool. It's supposed to help us get things figured out so that we can actually have our processes written down.
Love it. Yeah, so it's perfect use case of it to pull information in and create processes. Also, like, who's needed to create a job offer document? Right? You need to make a job offer. Like, you can just tell AI, this is the role, these are the responsibilities, this is what it pays, you know, these are the benefits in shorthand, or even better, make a GPT, custom GPT that already understands all your benefits and save it. And then it'll spit it out. It's so nice, it's professional, it saves you hours of time, and it's just taking that basic information and now putting it into a very professional job offer letter. Job descriptions, roles and responsibilities, even organizational charts. We have one in our company directory that is an image. It shows me on top, my executive assistant, and then it shows our department heads and team members underneath of them. Well, if we have somebody move in the company, they've been promoted, lateral movement, they're no longer with the company, I don't have to go in and edit that thing every single time. I just tell my AI the change to make, makes the change, and now our org chart is updated. Very simple. So HR, the other thing it's great for is documented discussions, and what do they call them? Performance improvement plans. Anybody have a problem writing those up? They're really fun because you want them to be constructive and helpful and motivational, even though you don't want to type that out. So AI can help you a lot with actually putting that in a really good format so it comes across well to your team member. And research and summaries was already covered, right? Summarizing meetings, doing research on your competitors, another huge one if you don't do that. Research on marketing, like what you need to do for your website, have AI look at your sites. Really the use cases for this is endless. In these three areas, does anybody have examples of where you're using AI for something similar in these buckets? Something similar to these buckets. We're all AI'd out.
Related question, you said you don't do marketing research on your competitors.
No, we do. Do it. Yes.
Thank you.
Of course.
It's like, in the old days of Facebook ads, you could go in and see which ads are trending, and then you
You can still see ads. There's a whole, like Meta has a page where you can just type in the name of the company and you can see all the ads. Actually, I might be able to. Hold on, let's see if I bookmarked appropriately. You guys talked about, like a lot of the presenters talked about hallucinations, and actually I saw a really funny post just today where I don't know if you've ever heard of CJ Hudson-Pillar. He's an agent back east. He's very AI heavy. He's a great guy. He's kind of funny. He's in Oklahoma. And he was like, yeah, you guys are worried about AI hallucinating, but, because, your CSRs, they never hallucinate. They never make stuff up. They never explain coverage is wrong. Like, we're people, right? We all make mistakes. AI is no different. I mean, it's not people. No, it's not people. But it's also going to make mistakes. So it's not hugely different in that way, but the difference is that it's not going to be covered by your E&O, right? So that's where you have to be really careful where you put AI, especially when it comes to the front end of your organization. So this slide, I'm really going to attribute to John, the lawyer. So these are some of the things he wanted to make sure you guys knew about. Back up every claim. AI rates save $1,000 a year, or our clients save 15%, or our customers save $1,000 a year on average, whatever the claim is, you actually have to be able to back this up. You've got to be able to say, I've been collecting prior premiums compared to existing premiums. So this is something you have to be careful with. Licensing and disclosures. Of course, make sure you have all of your licensing on there. Even with AI generated content, you want to make sure that that's all listed. And you also do want to disclose AI. That was a question on the panel. Don't try to hide that you're using AI. Regulation is coming. It's already in process where it's going to be required anyways.
Yep. Put it on your ads too.
Yes. Yep, just put it on there. Plus, it helps with trust. I use AI for certain images. There is another gentleman who's kind of a coach in the insurance space, David Crothers, and he did like the whole AI clone. I don't know if you guys have ever seen those. It's crazy. It's AI because there's no wrinkles on his face, and the guy's like 60. So, either he has the fountain of youth or it's AI. You don't have any wrinkles on your head. Does that count? No. Oh, sorry. This is obviously the end of the day, right? We're all like, it's time for drinks and coffee. Okay. Deepfakes, celebrity likenesses. This is becoming a problem. You can very easily, have you guys seen the political ones? Where, the left makes fun of the right makes fun of the left, and they put faces on horribly inappropriate things. One of the videos I saw of Nancy Pelosi, I just can't unsee it. I don't know who made that. It was awful. But this kind of stuff is really important. People will rebrand, quotes or images and put a celebrity in front of it and then say if I wish I would have called Gates Insurance sooner, and it's The Rock Johnson. Well, he didn't say that. That's not allowed. That's not legal for you to do that. So be really careful with deepfakes and celebrity likenesses. Definitely not allowed. So you can see the yellow on the bottom. This disclosure, AI disclosure, is not federally required yet. And Idaho has no specific rules on this, but this is coming again. So he did encourage me to have you guys always disclose. Okay, sensitive data. Even though it can stay within your own GPT, again, if they change the terms and they want to train their models on the information you're giving it, then they could change this. So marketing, very, very low risk. Internal agency operations, super low risk. Job postings, research, HR, all of that, very low risk, no problems there. High risk, of course, is the kind of client documents, carrier documents. So I heard, I don't remember who it was, someone say that they were taking like the policy information and the underwriting guidelines and putting those into a ChatGPT. Most of those documents have a disclosure on the bottom that they are internal use only, which means you don't have the authority to put it into a public database. And so this is a real problem with carriers for their policy documents. So you really shouldn't be putting those in there and asking it to tell you if this is like a risk that's acceptable, or if the coverage is, you know, the medications would be covered for Medicare. That's actually not a safe practice. Social security numbers and AMS platform data as well.
I'm just curious about that policy data and drug formulators and all that stuff. If you were to put it into something like LM Notebook or whatever it's called.
Notebook LM, it's still an AI tool.
It's still an AI tool, but you're just using the resources that are there. Is it still, is that?
That's a great question.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm not a lawyer, so. But what John told me is that if it has that disclosure on the bottom of the document, internal use only, it means it's for your business and not any third parties. And OpenAI or Anthropic, which is Claude and ChatGPT, would be a third party, and it is reading and understanding and digesting that information. So if you think about like Dropbox or OneDrive or Google Drive, where you would store documents, traditionally those systems, like, they don't read the document, they don't know what's the context of it, it's just the storage. And before AI, we were the only ones who could read the context. So that's different now. And what he was seeing is he's seeing more and more carriers actually update their policies, that they cannot use AI to go over them. Because what they're afraid of is that the LLMs will change their policies, and now all of the other carriers will have their information as well.
Some of the companies are even starting to say, when they have like Zoom meetings, you can't use an AI transcriptor to record the meeting and transcribe it either.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So I'm an Orange partner with Vertafore. Vertafore is the largest, Epic and Vertafore, like the two largest insurtech companies in the country. And I do a lot of meetings with them, and I can't have my AI recorder in there. And for me, I love everything that's recorded because I feel like it's accountability. It's like built-in accountability. Like I said, I'm going to do this, so I'm going to do it. If there's a misunderstanding, I can go back and review the video. But that's also a little bit of a risk to the organization, because if you mess up or you commit to something, there's proof of that. So that is true. There are organizations that don't want those, and their policies are going to keep changing as these tools change as well. So keep an eye on them. Any other questions about sensitive data? So what happens in ChatGPT doesn't stay there. So again, I'm going to thank John for these. These are this is a federal court ruling. I'm going to read it because I don't know what it says. A criminal defendant typed the facts of his case into ChatGPT and asked what he should tell his attorney. He printed the results and brought them to his lawyer. The prosecutor subpoenaed his ChatGPT history. The court ruled it was not protected by attorney-client privilege because AI is an attorney. So keep that in mind. So the guy probably spilled his guts to ChatGPT, told him what actually happened, and then tried to figure out what he should tell the lawyer, right? And they pulled that history. So there's no confidentiality protection between you and AI. Any of that can be pulled, so keep that in mind. Don't type anything into an AI tool that you wouldn't be comfortable seeing in a courtroom or a DOI audit. Again, audits, trauma. You know, but don't give it anything else that can hurt you there. Just because it can doesn't mean it should. I say this to my clients all the time. There are so many things that AI can do today that is very risky. So, obviously being an issue, terms of service violations. So I have a family member who's a executive high up at Travelers Insurance, so I get to have my, carrier mole and find out what's going on there. There are bots today, Agentic bots were talked about earlier, where you can have it, so you can give it your login to your carrier, and it can go in and quote for you. Enter all the information as long as it knows where to get the information, and it can do all the quote. It can take it all the way to the point of bind, and then you need to bind. Some of these companies are actually letting it bind. Don't do that. But again, these software companies, some are good, some are really, really bad. So Travelers Insurance is very aware of this. It's very easy to see when a bot is coding because it's so fast. People don't move this quick, right? It leaves a footprint. And so they're aware. They have been working on changing their terms of service and the policies that go along with your login credentials as a licensed agent. And they will be excluding bots. The carriers, there's other companies who are going directly to carriers and getting approval for their bot systems to work in their carrier platforms. So what I really see, where I see this going, is that agents could risk appointments by violating these terms, and because of the risk that it poses to the carriers. AI errors happen insanely fast, you guys. So at Travelers Insurance, this is no secret, but they purchased Anthropic. They got Claude. That's the platform Travelers uses. Public knowledge. They had built some internal bots with their own tech team, and were using it in the premium audit division, and it hallucinated and went a little haywire, and within 2 hours, it caused 4 months of damage. That their teams had to spend man hours for 4 months cleaning up. And this is in my family members division. So this is a first account story from this person. And they had to pull back that AI and figure out what caused it. Now, think about if your agency was the one responsible for that damage. Any idea what they would probably charge you to fix it? Or what they would do to stop you from doing it again? These are real risks. Make sure that you understand what you're plugging AI into. The things we're giving you guys to use it in like safe areas, use the crap out of it. You'll save so much time. But please don't try to like outsmart some of these other systems and break some of these rules. AI voice. So this is something that John, the attorney I worked with, really, he has several AI voice clients that he is providing legal guidance on. And it is really, really beneficial. You can see down here in the blue, this is where I was saying that this legislation is coming. So AI disclosure in Colorado takes effect in July. So Patrick, you didn't know that? You're Colorado. You already knew? I bet. Utah and California require that a person understand they're speaking with a chatbot. Compliance is coming. There's more and more states that are filing. Idaho will probably be 15 years down the road. We're always behind on all this kind of stuff. But still, make sure that you know what your rules are. But this is still a very, very helpful piece. I mentioned earlier in my first session that voice AI is really well received when your team is busy. People hate voicemail. If they can't reach you, it's frustrating to say the least. Do you ever have those clients who they call and they hang up and they call back and they hang up and they call back and they hang up and then they text you and they email you and you're like, holy crap, I'm on the other phone, on the other line, just calm down. And they call you and they're like, why'd my bill go up $10? That is quite an emergency. You're thinking their house is on fire because they won't stop calling you and you're like, just calm down. But if you're all busy and an AI bot picks up, we have one in my company. If you call and we're all busy, I think her name is Riley. It's Riley the robot. So she says, this is Riley the robot. Everyone at Accelerate Automation is helping another client. How can I help you? If you want me to leave a message or transfer you to a team member, I'll try again. But you can talk to it. Ask it questions. How do I schedule a meeting? What do you guys do? Can you get all these basic questions answered? What are your business hours? All that stuff. And then transfer to voicemail or try again. Let me ring back the team and see if someone's available. This bot engagement has a huge success rate. And this after hours opportunity, 12% of after hours calls are actually people looking for insurance. They want to speak with you. You close at 5, they get off work at 5, they call you at 5:10, your phone's running to voicemail. That's frustrating, right? So there's a lot of opportunity there as well. Anybody using voice AI in any capacity yet? No. A lot of the phone companies, if you're using a voice over IP, internet-based phone line, have these built in. So I use Ring Central, and the AI Receptionist is a built-in feature of my phone system that I can turn on. You guys using it back there? You are? How's it been going? Do your customers like it?
Those that comment do not like it.
Say it again? Sorry.
Those that comment on it don't like it.
Okay. Do you guys use it first pick up, anyone that calls, it answers first? Okay. So if you get some pushback, I would encourage you to make it a second. So brings to the team first and then put it in there, and then even after hours. Let people get used to it. We have a trucking agency, pretty good size, a lot of international employees, and they implemented voice AI, and their clients are truckers. Did not go over well. They were pissed. And he had to turn it off. But he did put it in for after hours because it was able to give them resources and direction of where to go. So you gotta kind of know your customer. Also, think about the voice of the AI, right? So if you pick one with like a little bit of an accent, it's a little bit more fun. Like, I really like British accent ones or Australian accents just because I love those accents. So they're more fun to talk to.
A guy or a girl?
Oh, come on, you know the answer to that. Set me up for that one. My husband's not here, so I'm good.
Well, I meant not to you, but I meant for.
Oh, I thought you meant me. Ugh. It is so the end of the night. Where is the alcohol? Okay, no, it's just whichever one. But the other one this is great for is language. We have a lot of multi-language agencies, and I don't know about you guys, but the agency I took over in Nampa, Idaho, when I moved here, they had 2 team members who spoke Spanish. I don't speak Spanish at all, and people would call in and want help. This is a great area for AI if you have a multi-language agency, but you don't speak the language, because you can actually say, hold on, let me get that Spanish for you, or whatever language it is, and transfer them to AI, and they can at least have some discussions, and your AI can translate, and then tell you what is needed. So lots of use cases for this.
Have you used that to schedule appointments?
Yeah, like lead qualification. There's tons of companies out there. Scheduling appointments is great. The AI voice has to be able to connect to your calendar, and then look at your calendar and availability. And if you don't have the right settings, it can schedule you a call like 4 a.m. So you just have to make sure you've got it set up correctly. Great for that though.
I called the support line and, about a CRM actually, and asked a question and had like a 10-minute conversation about how do I do this? How do I do that? And it's pretty good.
It's pretty good, right? And it keeps learning. Most of these models keep learning as you have questions. Personally, I just recently had to have our furnace fixed. Like, we had it serviced, and then it turned off. We know how it is. It's like you take your car to the mechanic and now something else breaks, and you're like, what did you do? But anyways, I called the company, and they had an AI bot, and it told me right at the front, everyone's busy. I'm the AI assistant. I can talk to you, or I can help you leave a message. And I said, well, my furnace isn't working, and I'm a customer. I have a maintenance subscription. And it looked at the availability, scheduled the repair, and I never talked to a person, and they showed up the next morning, and it was great. Phone call was like 3 minutes long. And everybody else at that company was doing more valuable work, right? So depending on the industry, depending on what people are trying to call for, you gotta be careful. Insurance is a trust-based business, so you can't put too many barriers between you and your customers, but you can definitely get them used to it with things like after hours and when you're all busy. I feel like everybody should know this, right? Common sense. Everybody have a cyber insurance for your agencies? And if you don't, go write yourself a cyber. If you don't do that, then I'm sure one of your fellow agents in here does that. Build a corporate AI policy. You guys, I just had this conversation with my team. We work in tech. My executive assistant, who is my only in-office employee, she goes, Mariah, this is so cool. I just used ChatGPT. I want to show you what it did. Now, McKenna, I love her, she's wonderful. She does tattooing, she's very artistic. She used ChatGPT to create a tattoo design. I was like, wow, McKenna, that's so great. I love it, I'm glad you're using AI. Do you have any idea? Okay, so use AI boldly but wisely. Start safe, start small. Anybody use it for personal stuff like dinner recipes or travel reservations or movies? Yeah, you guys are all like using it a little bit, right? Yeah, so get used to it, prompt it. The better communicator that you are, the better your AI will work with you. If you're a really good communicator, you'll have a lot of success with AI. If you struggle with like communication just in general and understanding, it'll be harder.
I've noticed saying that. I've noticed where like phrase it one way and you get all these different results. I'm like, no, not quite. Maybe I better change the wording how I worded it. And then I'll change the wording a little bit better, and I found out if I'm better with my communication, I get much better.
Yeah, right? That's that garbage in, garbage out. Like if you're, 3 years deep, don't expect your AI to give you a good output, like make sure you're giving it the right prompt. But keep trying, keep working with it, and seeing how it responds best to you. Regulator doesn't care that AI did it, right? You're responsible for the output, so this is why you want to make sure you use it smart. human in the loop always. It's just not at a place where you can just let it go. I don't know when it will be there, if it will be there, what that looks like, but just make sure you are always checking things. Protecting your agency, check those policies if you're using AI, understand your risk just like anything else, and have those separate policies in place. And of course, I'm not an attorney, this is not legal advice. Call an attorney if you want one. John's great, I can give you his information if you need it. And that's all I got for you guys. So we have I think we've got like 20 minutes left, right? 20, 25 minutes left? 15, okay, so any questions? I mean, the speakers that we have, several are still here. Any questions you guys have, any topics you want to talk about?
I think that when you go back home, right, because it's always wonderful at a conference, you walk away inspired, and then you go home and then you go back to everything else. My encouragement would be go find the one thing, right? Find one thing, one problem that your agency has. Maybe it's a long glaring problem you've had for a very long time that you've been ignoring. Maybe it's something minor. But find just the one thing and see if there's a tool that can help you fix that one thing. And that's going to start to build momentum, right? Or just reach out to Mariah and her team can help you get all that stuff.
Yeah, I would say a summary for today is that the industry is changing very quickly. Actually had a discussion with one of the agents in the room where we were talking about catching up and staying on top of this stuff. Also know your time left in the industry. If you are planning on exiting in the next 2 or 3 years, don't worry about this stuff, right? But if you are wanting to grow the business and you want to stay in the industry for a long period of time, or want to grow your multiple in the agency for your exit, whatever that might look like for you, these are things that really make a difference and set the agency apart. Organizations like Tripordia, who are buying up independent agencies all over the country, these are things they look for. They look for how turnkey, and you can get a higher multiplier in your business. So level of attention with these things, take a look at your agency and what you're trying to accomplish with it, and then apply appropriately.
I would say you're all here spending some time together. So if during our happy hour, think about that one thing and share it with somebody else. Right? Take a minute to share, write down that one thing, look for your notes, share that one thing that you want to take back to your office, and have them be your accountability partner. Check back in next week or in 2 weeks. Hey, have you started this? Because it's not just saying to yourself, yeah, I'm going to do this. It's actually doing it, right? Let's put something into action. And if anybody needs an accountability partner, I'm volunteering. If y'all want to send me your one thing, I'll check back in a couple weeks and see if you've done it.
As you imagine all the things that AI can do for you and will do, but you can't do or shouldn't do, do you imagine we'll actually get to a spot that these things will be considered secure and formally approved by most of the public companies?
Do you guys remember maybe the early 2000s, there was a saying that says there's an app for that?
Yeah.
I feel like that AI is getting to that point, and just like the internet, right, kind of the best and the worst thing that ever happened, you allowed keyboard warriors to come out and have opinions, but you also had access to information. So I feel like it's going to be very much like a double-edged sword. I just look at the data and the numbers, how much growth, the cost of those chips, right? We went from $200 to $2,000 in some cases. I don't think that's going to go down, but that forces other places to also make up the difference in the margin and markets. So I feel like that, we're almost here. Is there an AI for all of those things? Absolutely. I think Instagram had reported that they have 77 million users. 30 million of those are bots. But some of those bots, and a lot of those bots, have way more followers than probably all of us combined in the room, which is really sad, right? So I feel like that it's going to be all over the place, and that there's always going to be, a yes and a no answer for, does that exist? No, but it's coming.
So I don't know if anybody saw the Anthropic report that came out March 5th, the labor report from Anthropic. Google Anthropic Labor Report March 5th of this year, and what it did was made a radar chart, so it's a circle, and the spokes of the wheel are different types of jobs, construction to mathematician kind of a thing. And in it, it shows, okay, of these jobs, of course it's very general, what percent of these tasks can AI do right now? Construction is like 5% or something like that. But some of the brainiac type things are like 95%. Then it has inside of that how much of those tasks are being performed right now by AI, which is about 10% versus of what it could be doing, which means it's going to be filling in there very fast. And the fringe is what I call the uniquely human zone. And this was emphasized by our speakers today. And so another way of saying what I think they were saying is focus your business development where you're doing what only you can do. Just to rephrase what I think they said.
Yeah, and I wanted to touch on when you say jobs in general, the other thing you guys have to think about is we have a declining population. So when we say is AI going to replace jobs, I think it's going to take places for people that don't exist today that can't take those jobs. Like, anyone here tried to hire recently? It's hard, right? It's hard to hire. And so we have a huge labor market issue just to fill jobs that are going to exist. And AI is kind of the right time to do that because we're not replacing our population, which is a huge risk. If you listen to Elon Musk, right, he talks about that's the greatest risk to the world is the declining human population. So whether you like them or not, the numbers don't lie there. I have a kind of a peer in the insurance tech space who were on opposite ends of our opinions. We have competing systems, but we talk all the time. His next door neighbor is a brain surgeon, and he told me this story. He said they're training, because you know how you can do the microscopic surgeries with literally these robot arms? You've seen those, right? They're training AI on the recordings of brain surgeries, hundreds of thousands of hours of brain surgeries, so that the robots can do the brain surgeries. He's a brain surgeon. He's like, I'm worried about AI taking my job. That's some crazy shit. That's crazy. Can you imagine going in and being like, yeah, I'm good, that robot can operate on my brain? That's the level of trust it's going to have to get to for that to even make sense, but it's happening now. So
they do it in several procedures anyway now.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not brain, but a lot of other ones.
Yeah.
Eye and knee, arthroscopy, some of that they do it.
Yeah, so where it's going to be, who knows? But there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. At the end of the day, use it to extend your team and as get as much out of it as you can.